What is up, everybody? Thanks so much for tuning in to another great weekend here at the Voice of College Football's Miami post-game show. Slim Shady Gaines, Alex, Hurricane Central. We won. We beat Boston College. There was none of that Doug Flutie replay that they had to show us like 50 times before the game. It didn't happen.
I swear to God, I'm going to be 70 years old sitting there with grandkids, and they're still going to be playing that damn replay by Doug Flutie.
Well, the one good thing he ever did.
Well, that and Flutie Flakes.
Oh, there you go.
He won the Heisman off just that play.
What do you think, Alex? What do you think about that great game?
This one or the Flutie play?
Flutie wasn't there. We're talking about today, sir.
Today, first complete game in the last 2 months.
Since Texas A&M, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're not really going to count Temple. You expect that to be a complete game. You're not going to count Bethune-Cookman. Heard a lot of people saying, where's this been all year in terms of the offense? And I can sort of concur, I guess, a little bit with this in the last 2 weeks. But, yeah, overall, just feeling good. At least we don't have a losing record.
Right, we are a winning team. We are a winning football team, and we are going bowling. We are going to a bowl game.
Yeah, Gators. I can't shit talk FSU, but I can shit talk the Gators about this. You've had a losing record for 2 years in a row, and if you don't get it tomorrow against the Noles, you're gonna lose your bowl game for 3 straight. So, fuck you, Florida. See you in 2024.
Which hopefully we'll be at that game. Hopefully we will be there.
Well, I know at least a couple people that will, but I know a Florida fan that says he'll be there, but I'll have to see it to believe it.
Yeah, I think you're speaking of a certain fishing guy, right? I don't think I've yet to see him show up anywhere that he said he's going to be. So.
Well, he claims to be fishing, but the only actual verifiable evidence of him fishing is out of a tank at Red Lobster.
What's up, LW? Yeah, Valentine's. Yeah, sorry we're running late today. My family actually had their Thanksgiving today at 4:00, so that was you can blame it all on me. Blame it all on me.
Hey, listen, don't take no lip from no Alabama fan.
Hey, at least they're here. But then we got Workforce Freebie, Colby, Mr. Overdose already in here. Good evening, sir. Good evening to you as well. Good to see you here.
To Alex's comment about where's the offense been, I mean, it's been there all year. But you have storylines woven into every game that weave into the whole season. And, I mean, it turned out very much like I said. Tyler Van Dyke just got into a slump for whatever reason mid-season and got himself out of it, thankfully.
Yeah.
But
and I think his injuries, I do think, played, a large part of that as well.
Especially when you're missing muscle off your leg. Just a thought.
Yeah. Like that just, like, I've never had that kind of injury, but skin detached from muscle just sounds painful.
It makes me think of like the Hellraiser movies or something like that, when the guy, they were like just ripping the skin off. It's like, that's what goes through my mind. Like,
yeah.
That's absolutely horrible.
But then too, I mean, yes, the offensive line was absolutely better. Are they a top 10 offensive line in the country? No, they're not. And Malagoa had his freshman mistakes, which freshmen have. I don't know. It just very similar to last year. You can point to things where things just didn't go our way, and that's why the season is what it is. But to me, there's still obvious progress with the team, and if you can't see it, well, then you're just looking to be negative at that point.
Now, I want to pose a question. After these last 2 weeks, Tyler had some comments when speaking to the media saying, I feel like myself again. I found myself and felt really comfortable in this offense. Me and Coach Dawson became really close over this tough stretch. We communicated to make sure we're on the same page. Everything worked out the last 2 weeks. Do you see a possibility that Tyler is back as a Miami Hurricane in 2024?
I think he needs to. Number one, I think we need him. I think we need the depth.
I think
Because
it's a big sign there that nobody else played this week. Like
it is.
if I'm drawing a blank. What's his name?
Jakari.
Yeah,
He
Jakari.
didn't even get in garbage time.
Right. If that makes me think he is probably transferring, and I think it's probably Van Dyke's team again next year.
I think people are reading more into that than what's there. It was made clear in the offseason it was Jakari and his family's decision to redshirt this year. I don't know why people are trying to read in all of a sudden that now he wants to leave. Like, we've known that since after the spring game. And maybe it's just me refusing to read between the lines. I don't know.
And maybe it's just me listening to Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, I might be wrong as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Like I said, I tend to think that, like I said, it was no secret. It was Jakari and his family's decision for him to redshirt. I didn't expect to see him at all this year. I mean, people saw him warming up on the sidelines thinking he was fixing to come in. Well, maybe it was just the fact that it was 35 degrees and he was freaking cold.
Yeah, I'm surprised about how we did in the cold weather. Knowing the hits.
I'm not. Like, I've heard this narrative literally for 40 years, and Miami's played in the cold for 40 years and done fine. I've never gotten it.
So did you like I said, immediately after the game, I had to go eat Thanksgiving. Did you have a chance to listen to any of the Twitter talk or the other post-game shows or the feedback coming from the fans?
Oh, yeah.
Some people want Tyler back. Some people are jumping up and down that this is his last game. There's still people saying fire Mario. You know, it's the same toxic bullshit it is every week, and that's why I love this fan base, because y'all never cease to entertain.
So the Fire Mario excitement is already out there again?
Oh, it's been there basically since Georgia Tech and never went away. And I heard a lot of the same things he did. The whole Fire Mario, which I do find it funny that it never ceases to amaze me, because nothing in life ever works out this way. But boy, the Miami fan base finds a way to boil it down to it's just one problem. It's just one person. It's just one thing. No, it's not. Nothing in life is just one thing why things went wrong. Nothing. And I don't know why people think it's that way with this football team, because it's not. It never has been, and it never will be. It is a culmination of things, and I think it's blatantly obvious we're in the right track of correcting them, unless you just want to, continue what we've been doing and, take a step forward and a couple of steps back. Let's not forget, we're digging out of a hole we've been in for 20 years, that we've dug for 20 years. So we're going to keep digging, or we're going to work our way out of this hole. That's the way I look at it.
I like the direction we're going. I mean, obviously, I think we're a better football team than we were 2 years ago. So,
yeah. And we're definitely a better football team than we were last year. Now, I don't think we need to. I do think they need to pick up a quarterback out of the portal, and for scholarship reasons, a graduate transfer, somebody that's not taking up a scholarship space, please, because we need the people, we need the room,
we need the depth.
Yeah, that too, and that's another thing. It's like that is a glaring problem with this team, is the depth problem, and that's not a problem that gets fixed in 1 or 2 off seasons, even with transfers. Because everybody wants to point to transfers like this is some magical fix that's going to make everything all better overnight. Not all transfers work out.
Yeah.
Colorado, hello. Quote unquote Coach Prime, who's actually a team mom with a whistle. Tell me that's not true. That's not a football coach. That is a team mom with a whistle.
Yeah, everyone keeps saying the same thing where he's just there for Shadur, and the moment Shadur goes leaves, he's gone.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's not going to stay there. He's not going to stay at a losing program for that long, and he's not going to turn Colorado into, a championship team in
It'll be
2
a
years.
fun little sideshow. It'll be a nice little footnote in the history of college football where like 15, 20 years from now, we'll be like, hey, remember when Deion Sanders was at Colorado and people wouldn't shut the fuck up about him?
Kobe will remember that.
But, I mean, it will be interesting to see how these next 48 to 72 hours go because now the portal is going to start to come open. You've already seen some guys. People have been clamoring for Will Rogers, the Mississippi State quarterback. Take a look at him out of the portal. And it's also already been reported that there's some interest from potential quarterbacks going into the portal in Miami, which is what we've said, which would only make sense because you look at this team and the quarterback play is one of the biggest reasons that we've been held back and probably the biggest reason in the eyes of some people. So a lot of guys maybe feel like they could just come in and immediately compete.
And a lot of guys might be able to do that. And
Yeah.
I think, Tyler Van Dyke needs, if he does come back next year, which, I think it's likely that we have another year of TVD. But if he does come back, he needs somebody challenging him. That
Yes,
job, he
absolutely.
can't just feel like that job's his and it's just his to mess up or do whatever with. He needs to know that if he's not doing his job to what is expected of him, then there is somebody else that is capable of taking it away from him.
Yeah. Let me just get started and look a bit at the schedule for next year because we don't even have a bowl opponent, so we can't even talk about that.
Well, still focusing on this year for a second, and I think the coaching staff had a plan for that. Once again, we knew post-spring Jakari was going to redshirt this year, and we knew Emory was coming in, but Emory was coming in as a project. So their plan was to have, and I'm sure some people remember this and some people have forgotten, Jaden Rashada was going to be the backup. And I do think he probably would have pushed Tyler Van Dyke much more than Emory Williams would have. But, the best laid plans of mice and men often go astray. And I think that's kind of what we saw with the quarterback position is the plans that they had for that room this year went astray when somebody decided to flip their commitment, which happens.
Right now for next year, the set games are at Florida August 31st, then Florida A&M at home, Ball State at home, and then travel to Tampa to take on USF, which why are we playing a group of 5 team on the road again? I don't know, but we are.
Well, that could be because they changed up. We were supposed to play Notre Dame, and for whatever reason, they got dropped off.
No, that was schedule. Already at USF was already a set game.
Oh, was that one? I can't remember which one was the one that we picked up to make up for the Notre Dame, because Notre Dame and Clemson both dropped off when the ACC had to redo the schedules for the 3 teams coming into the conference next year.
Yeah, so these are in no particular order because the schedule hasn't been officially set, but I'll just rattle them off. At Cal, at Georgia Tech, at Louisville, Duke at home, FSU at home, Virginia Tech at home, Wake Forest at home, and then at Syracuse. Again, that is not in that order. We're not playing 3 straight road games and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight home games. But that's just how it's listed here on the site.
Yeah.
So yeah, I look at this and I think it's an easier schedule than this year. That's for sure.
It is.
Yeah, and I can just bring this up now because they're here. And then at Louisville would be one of our tougher games, but we touched on this last week where everyone wanted to compare it. We had a lot of things go wrong this year on top of the fact that we had and they even said it on the broadcast, we had one of the toughest schedules in the ACC. I think we played all 5 of the top 5 teams in the ACC this year.
We did. And that absolutely contributes to how the season went.
Yeah, and let's face it. I mean, we ended 7-5, but we 100% should have ended 8-4 without a doubt.
Oh no, we did end 8-4. Except the ACC is garbage.
Well,
all we had to do was take a knee.
and I'll make the argument.
Down, so.
I'll make the argument at this point. If Tyler Van Dyke plays in Florida State, we win that game.
But yeah, overall not too great this year in terms of the ACC play, having gone 3-5. But 7-5 is around where the majority of people believed we would be. I said 8-4. We would have been 8-4 if we kneeled the goddamn ball.
Hey, wait a minute. Mario knelt the ball today. So you shut your filthy mouth, sir.
Yeah, that was actually really surprising to see. I was like, what are they doing? What is this on playing that I do not know?
Trick play.
I expect these bunch formations on the goal line, not in the middle of the field. What's going on?
I thought he was going with a fumble Ruski for a second.
Right.
Hey, we've seen them pull out the flea flicker, and I thought they were going to pull out the Statue of Liberty at one point. So I mean, all you're missing at that point is the fumble Ruski to have the trifecta of old school trick plays.
You just look at some of these games, and I really don't want to be that fan, but I'm gonna be that fan for a second. We could have won at North Carolina. Should have won / did win Georgia Tech. Should have won NC State. Could have won Florida State, and could have won against Louisville. Yeah. And then there's just certain games that quarterback play / ineptitude offensively straight up killed you. Being Georgia.
And to that point, though, and I'm glad to see that a lot of people are hopping on what I saw, because a lot of people, and I get it during the season, people look for the low hanging fruit, and Tyler Van Dyke was the low hanging fruit. Nah. But last week and today kind of proved that Dawson got a little predictable and vanilla with his offense, and it let defenses just kind of set back in it.
Yeah. I mean, people aren't going to like hearing that, but, two things can be true at once. TVD could play like dog shit, and then Dawson becomes vanilla and predictable. Both those things happened. And I think that if we had more of what we saw today, you beat Georgia Tech. I'll still count North Carolina as a loss because their offense is
good. You're not going to stop them. You're only going to slow them down.
Yeah, and they went up tempo, and we didn't have the depth, and they just straight up beat us. Unless TVD had an absolutely generational game, we wouldn't have won.
Well, and it's not like he had it's not like that game was a complete dud. We put up over 500 yards of offense in that game.
Yeah, and he threw for almost 400. He had 391 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 picks, but one of them was just with like 2 seconds left where it was just.
That's why I said, like, people are pointing at the 12 picks. I put about 8 or 9 of those on TVD, but like you just said, when you're chucking a ball to the end zone on the final play of the game, just trying to make a play, and it gets picked, it's on the stat sheet, but not all picks are created equal. Yeah.
With even just a decent offensive performance, we should have beat NC State.
Hello?
If you had a good QB play, because Emory, we said it before, kid had heart. He impressed a lot of us and earned a lot of our respects, but he did not have a good game. If you had even just good QB play against Florida State, we win that game. And then Louisville is another one I'll just chalk up as a loss because we did have good QB play, but just.
Well, and I give it to him. So, Lance Guidry has called a good game pretty much all season. Okay, the defense had an off day. It is what it is.
Yeah, so if I'm looking at this, this team should be 9-3, 10-2.
Yeah, and listen, I love people that want to point to Louisville. And then of course Sonny Dykes at TCU. And this
didn't
is
make
what
a
I
bowl
mean.
game.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I'm going with this. And this is what I mean by a lot of Miami fans want a microwave dynasty. They want that 1 year run so they can hoot, holler, and celebrate instead of building something that actually lasts. You want you want to fire somebody because, oh, this guy did better in his first year, but then turns around and doesn't make a bowl game his second year. This is why people need to learn to be patient. It is still a virtue, whether society's forgotten it or not.
Yeah, I mean, let's just take a look at our friends up in Gainesville for a second. You know, Dan Mullen wins a New Year's Six Bowl, has a 10-win season, goes to the SEC championship game, beats Georgia, has 1 year where he goes 7-5, and now you dummies are stuck with Billy Napier.
Yep. Well, and Tennessee's another one that comes to mind. They pull off 1 10-win season in the last 20 years. But, I mean, they're both Florida and Tennessee are on the Miami program when it comes to the coaching carousel.
Yeah, I mean, and now you want to fire Billy Napier again. and I'll say the same thing that I've said to Miami fans. Who are you going to get? Who is going to even get 3 wins with that schedule you're playing next year at Florida? Because, dear Lord, you thought this year wasn't fun? Just wait till next year when you got to play Texas.
Yeah, their schedule next year is brutal.
I've got it right here. Miami at home, Samford at home, which honestly, your experience with FCS teams could be a loss.
Ow.
Yeah. They've got Samford at home, UCF at home, 50-50 toss-up game. Georgia, as every year, world's biggest cocktail party. That's a loss. Let's be completely honest. At Florida State, most likely a loss. Kentucky, that's a loss. LSU, that's a loss. Ole Miss, that's a loss. Texas A&M, 50-50. At Mississippi State, win, maybe a loss. At Tennessee, that's a loss. At Texas, that's a loss. Yeah, you some bitches might go 0-12.
Yeah. And I think a lot of
they'll be extremely lucky to win 4 games. That's all I was going to say.
If they win 4 games, give that head coach an $80 million contract. Put a banner up.
And I think people listen to our commentary on Van Dyke and think that we mean that he's going to be some kind of Heisman candidate quarterback. And I don't mean that at all about Van Dyke. I don't think that he is. I have seen much less skilled quarterbacks, well, as a matter of fact, just win back-to-back national titles. If you want to just be downright honest about it, Tyler Van Dyke is worlds above Stetson Bennett.
Exactly, workforce. That's exactly what I was saying. 4 wins will be a miracle.
But I mean, like, perfect example. Do I think he can go to the swamp and absolutely slap around the Gators next year? Yeah. What have the Gators got? ETN? That's about it. And you're expecting maybe a bunch of freshmen to come in and make a huge impact.
What's that
some
wide receiver's
do, some
name?
don't. Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah, God bless him. He's really trying so hard out there. He's trying to make it work out there. And I mean, we're gonna have a battle of the backup QBs tomorrow because Graham Mertz is out and Jordan Travis is out, which that one sucked to see. But
yeah, and John Bird, from the beginning of the season, we assumed a 7-5 season from the get-go. Hoped for an 8-4. Well, we hoped for, everybody always hopes for 12-0.
Yeah.
But, obviously being realistic, we hoped for a 7-5, or not hope. We expected a 7-5, hope for an 8-4. We thought that was realistic. And winning a bowl game past that was our cherry on top. So exactly. If we can win a given 8-win season this year, I will be happy with it.
Well, and once again, I think that needs to be the goal of this team. You have won 1 bowl game since 2007. That needs to be the realistic goal of this team, is winning a bowl.
Right. Then you have people mad that we didn't go 11-1 or 10-2 or stuff. Win a bowl game, then come back and say, hey, maybe we're going to do better next year.
Like,
So
I get the overall point of everybody is, win your conference and, compete for a national title. I get that. But there's really only 2 programs in any given year that their expectations should be playoffs or bust. Maybe 3.
Currently, we are projected for the Tony the Tiger's Sun Bowl in El Paso, Texas, against Utah. The other projection is Arizona. There's also the Military Bowl against Memphis, the Duke's Mayo Bowl against James Madison. They're not even bowl. What? Get out of here, Fox Sports.
Madison isn't going to a bowl.
And Mr. Overdose.
Yeah, Fox Sports doesn't know what
we have. Here's Mr. Overdose saying, well, then present the proper criticism of his shortcomings. I don't think anybody's floated any grand praise of Tyler Van Dyke.
I mean, this week we can praise him. He played good today.
We can this week. He did good, but I don't think overall as a season.
If you're looking for me to do like Twitter and point out every single possible touchdown that he overlooked and threw the ball to somebody else, well, I'm not going to. Because much like I say about the referees, we've got 5,000 cameras to look at stuff from. He doesn't. So we're going to see things he doesn't see. And I'm also not going to say that
he's a good quarterback, but he's not the best quarterback in the world.
Right. He's when he's on top of his game, he's a top 10 quarterback in the nation. I'll give him that. Yeah. He's not Heisman caliber. Maybe could be if he was in a position kind of like Stetson Bennett where he's got an absolutely exceptional team around him. But
this is the problem with him. We've seen that at his highs, he's really fucking high. Like he's that guy. He is absolutely that guy. But at his lows, like he's borderline unplayable. Like it is the biggest.
Here's the thing, though. We have one sample size of his lows. That's this year. He played 6 games in 21. He played 6 games in 22 behind an offensive line that couldn't stop a nosebleed and actually caused several of them. Got injured. Got injured because of it. Who, by the way, still completed like 65% behind that line for over 1,000 yards while he was in. And we had absolutely no run game. And we saw really a 3-game stretch of him in a slump.
And I mean, look, he's shown it in games too that he'll like in that 2021 year he had some points in games where he was looking like a little low, but he kind of picked himself up, and he did it this week and last week. So credit to him. And I've already seen some people. I just saw it. I was just scrolling through. I saw Toast from the OBB. He put, as far as I'm concerned, only QB I want back from this year is Emery. Him, Judd, and at least 2 portal guys with starting experience. I thank TVD for his loyalty, but believe he's best served transferring. Yada yada. Peace out. We start new.
Here's a valid question. Take Brad Kaya out of the equation because he holds most every record. Name a better quarterback since Brock Berlin other than TVD.
No, I'm joking.
And this can go for anybody in the chat. Name any quarterback with the exclusion of Brad Kaya since Brock Berlin that's better than TVD. I dare you.
Hey, this must be a sign. A Michigan fan says the U.S. back.
Oh, you ain't right. Oh, that's not right.
Yeah. I see a lot of people saying Stephen Morris.
No, stop it.
No.
No.
Actually, I watched Stephen Morris. I know
I
I'm
like
young.
Stephen Morris. Don't get me wrong. No.
I know I'm young, and you guys rag on me for being young, and haha, he doesn't remember the glory days. But I remember Stephen Morris. I remember Al Golden.
Oh,
You
the
didn't
Al
even spell-
Golden years.
You didn't even spell Testaverde right. Get out of my chat. Just kidding. I love you, Michigan.
No. And Mr. Overdose, I like Ja'Cory Harris. I do. But he didn't have the arm strength to be a great quarterback. I mean, we all watched him. He had to put a mile of air under every ball because he just didn't have the arm.
I can't speak on that. No. I've just seen like the highlights of the 09 FSU game. I didn't watch Ja'Cory Harris.
I even watched him against Tebow and the Gators in 07, where that was a 3-point game until the fourth quarter. That was a 5-7 Miami team. That was a 3-point game going into the fourth quarter against a team that had just won a national title and wins a national title the next year.
No, they actually played in 2008, the year they did win the national title.
Was it 08? I could have swore it was 07.
No, it was 08. And it was a 9-3 game going into the fourth until Florida put up 17 unanswered.
There you go. Well, and Mr. Overdose, I agree. That was part of Ja'Cory's problem was the fact, and I've given TVD that same consideration. That's part of both of their problems. When you're learning a new playbook every year, it kills you. It absolutely kills you.
In what year did Ja'Cory? What year did he actually
play good?
Start
09.
09. Because he saw some game time his first year. Because I brought this point up before playing the quarterback hokey pokey.
They would
put him and Robert Marv back and forth in 07 with Ja'Cory as a true freshman.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. And that's what I was thinking was when he said 08, I was thinking it was before that. Did he actually?
Yeah. 09, we went 9-4.
Yep. Lost the Sun Bowl in El Paso. I didn't make that, but my uncle did, and it was a blizzard.
No, we lost
that game.
We lost the Champ Sports Bowl.
Was that the one?
Wisconsin. Yep. I think the Sun Bowl was the 2013 one because that was another 9-3 year.
I remember it was against Notre Dame, and my uncle drove all the way out to El Paso for that game, and there ended up being a blizzard. It was cold as crap.
The one that I remember being cold with the Sun Bowl was when we had that quarterback pass against Washington State. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm trying to think of when we played Washington State. Jesus.
In the Sun Bowl. No, in 2013. In 2013, we lost to Louisville 36-9 in the Russell Athletic Bowl.
Yeah, I remember that because we opened the season against Louisville the very next year.
Yeah, 2015 was the year that Al Golden got fired, and we lost like 58-0, and we lost to Washington State in the snow in El Paso, 20-14.
That's right. I blocked some of that out. That's why I couldn't remember that.
Right. Yeah. Some of it you just kind of blur out.
Well, from that year, I mean, that was. You go from that Clemson game that got Al Golden fired to the 8 lateral touchdown against Duke.
It was literally the next week. It was literally like I'm looking at the schedule. It was literally a week later,
which shouldn't have even happened because I remember the refs screwed up the call and gave Duke a chance to get the touchdown, so it shouldn't have even happened. And I'll completely admit, Mark Walton had his knees down before he threw that ball, but whatever. The refs didn't.
No, but I remember that night. Those refs were genuinely absolutely terrible, so it all evened out with that lateral play. I don't care.
It did, and both teams could make that argument.
This was a really up and down season.
Who can explain what was that? I'm trying to find the nice word for it. I'll call it a cluster. Right there at halftime. Like, what was so hard for the refs to figure out?
So basically, James Williams gets the pick, but before Castellanos, the quarterback for Boston College, before he throws the ball, there's a holding on Boston College.
Right. Okay, but James gets the pick, so it doesn't matter.
He gets the pick, returns it to midfield, but there's a block in the back on Francisco Mauigoa. So when the ref spoke, he goes, okay, there's 2 penalties, holding, number whatever on offense, and illegal block in the back, number 51 on defense. The penalties will offset. Boston College gets 1 on-time down. But then everyone's like, wait, what? That doesn't make sense because the penalty occurred after there was a change of possession. So if anything, Miami should get the 1 on-time down. So that's why they did the whole review. And in the end, they got it right. And we just took it to halftime. But it was just – that's basically what it was. It was just ACC.
Well, that wasn't it because the penalty happened – and maybe I'm wrong, but because the penalty happened after time had expired? Did that have something to do with it?
Well, the first penalty happened after time expired too.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That has nothing to.
Okay, maybe.
Well, either way, on offsetting penalties, then it should have just they ended up getting it right. It should have just been okay halftime because of offsetting penalties.
But the problem was that the whole confusion came about because they were like, Boston College gets an untimed down, and it's like we just picked them off, and then we declined the holding, so that doesn't matter. Like, if anything, it's our ball. like that doesn't matter. But whatever. In the end,
these
it literally
referees
didn't
are
matter.
Terrible at their job.
I know.
In the end, it literally didn't matter because we just went to halftime anyways.
I mean, there's 2 things. I guess you could work for like Congress, or you could work as an ACC ref, and you could just be terrible at your jobs.
Political. Shut up. But no, today has been a weird day for Hail Marys. You had the that with Boston College, and then the Dolphins took one back 99 yards for a touchdown before halftime. Yeah, it's been a weird day in South Florida for second quarter Hail Marys.
Well, and you know, speaking of games going on today, that there was a game that happened today that kind of epitomizes my point of shit just happens in football. Iowa is a 10-win football team.
Yeah, and they've only scored 11 points all year.
Let that sink in for a second.
And it took Nebraska's stupidity. No, did you see the pick? It took Nebraska's stupidity as they're driving to get into field goal range so they can win. Their quarterback throws one of the worst picks I've ever seen in my life, and Iowa returns it into field goal range and kicks the game-winning field goal with like 6 seconds left.
I loved it that they didn't cover the over-under.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I called that too, by the way.
I know. I heard people talking on Pete's show earlier. I guess a few people had bet on it being over, and it was like, nope.
I can't say too much about Iowa. I have a good
shout out to
friend
Uncle Lou.
Iowa
He
friend.
took the over for that game. He's taking an L.
Oh, yeah.
Just like he also is against Georgia Tech.
Because they're finally going to be the team that beats the Dogs. I'm joking. There's no way in hell they're going to beat Georgia.
Yeah.
Hey, I've seen weirder things happen. Okay.
Do either one of you know any about this question here? I don't keep up with recruiting much. I wish Chalupa was here. He would be the recruiting person for this. But Alex, you know anything?
Recruiting, yeah.
Well, I mean that'd be more a transfer. I mean that Tulane quarterback is good. I'm not fixing to take a thing from him. Is he looking to transfer?
The rumor is yes.
Well, that's the thing, though. I mean,
It's a rumor.
I take all of it with a grain of salt until somebody puts their name in the portal to actually transfer.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks good. Does that mean he'll look good in this system? Not necessarily. And actually, if you want to get downright technical, the best thing that could happen to Miami is Van Dyke coming back, because look at what he was able to do coming in cold after Derek King got hurt his second year in a system. He's going to do nothing but get better in the system along with everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, some of the people are talking about a few of the guys I've seen talked about are Pratt from Tulane,
Will Rogers from Mississippi State.
You've got Malik Murphy from the backup Texas quarterback who took over after Quinn Ewers recently got injured. There's also been talks about Dante Moore, the freshman from UCLA. He's been having issues. Oh, maybe we should go after Dante Moore. So yeah, as far as I know, we could be getting Dante Moore. We could get Malik Murphy. We could get Tom Brady. Could come out of retirement and be the quarterback for the Miami Hurricanes for all we know.
Well, and I like this comment that Traveling Fools put up, because this is something that I've harped on constantly, and because of constant coaching carousel, you're not going to have disciplined football until that changes. And that's something, obviously, with George and Brashard Smith sitting out early in the game, Mario's definitely trying to focus the team towards is more disciplined football. That's something that's only going to come with time. That's one of the things that, like he said, that's why Iowa has 10 wins. That's why Alabama's been as successful as they have, because that's a very, very, very disciplined football teams.
Yeah, I mean,
today discipline wouldn't hurt us.
Today we did better in the discipline department. I mean, only 3 penalties for like 38 yards or something.
Yes, and that's something they've gotten better on as the season's gone on, because I guarantee that disciplined football is something Mario is pushing. I mean, that's been big with every team Mario has coached, is disciplined football.
Now, when Mob Jones, you don't think Van Dyke is coming back? I would almost think that he is. I don't know. I might be wrong, but I could very easily see him come back.
That's the thing. We don't know. Kind of hoping he comes back. Very, very talented player. It would be the second year under a system. We've already seen what he can do when he really learns a system. I would hope for him to come back, but I could also understand it if he doesn't, and I won't be mad at it.
Here's another reason. Going back to the rumor mill, once again, I take it with a grain of salt, but it's in the rumor mill. If Van Dyke goes, X goes with him.
Well, he's got to have somebody to throw it to, right?
Well, and I'm glad they put this stat up during the game. Nobody cared that Van Dyke was targeting Charleston Rambo in 21. Nobody cared.
I've been saying that all year.
Yes, you have. And I pointed it out several times. Nobody cared. All of a sudden we care now because he's got one guy that's his favorite, but he's got 3 guys with over 500 yards receiving. When's the last time we had 3 wide receivers over 500 yards? There you go. Brad Kaya.
How do I know that? Because I'm fucking no, I'm joking. I saw it on Twitter like 20 minutes ago.
Twitter makes everybody a genius.
I get all my facts from Twitter.
Dude, right. Twitter and Google have absolutely killed trivia games forever.
And Mob Jones, I do agree with you. If he does come back, I want him to have to earn his starting spot.
Oh, yes. Nobody disagrees with that. Not at all. And I'm all for, like I said, bringing in a transfer as long as he's a graduate, not taking up a scholarship spot, because we still need to build the depth. So I'm all for bringing in a graduate transfer quarterback, whether it is the Tulane quarterback, whether it is the Mississippi State quarterback. Okay. But just like Van Dyke has to earn it, whoever comes in has to earn it.
Right, exactly.
Does Brad Kaya still have his 1 year of eligibility?
I mean, we can give Brad Kaya a COVID year.
Does that work like that?
Well, and Tim, I'll throw the same point to you that I did earlier in the chat that nobody was able to answer.
Brennan, I'm gonna have to pop off because I gotta head out. But
this was a nice 45 minutes, and I'll see you guys for the bowl game.
All right, man. Well, have fun at your hockey game.
Yeah.
Go Panthers.
Yes, thank you. I don't know if you actually care about hockey, but thank you, Slim.
I'm more of a Lightning fan, but yeah, I do. I played Pee Wee hockey.
Oh, fuck yourself.
I'm from
Fuck the Lightning.
Tampa, so I'm gonna like Tampa teams. Get over it.
Whatever. You
Ybor
guys,
City, baby.
you guys are on the downfall. We're on the come up. It's fine. It's fine.
But no, man, we'll see. We'll see it for the bowl game. Maybe it'll be
I'll see you guys
Tony
for
the
the
Tiger Bowl and be great.
I'll see you guys for the.
I was hoping for the Pop-Tart Bowl myself.
I know.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll see you guys for the Boca Raton Bowl. Don't worry.
All right, buddy. Have fun, man. Go have a good
All right.
time.
Later.
So what were you saying, Slim? You were talking about
Oh, well, I was going to throw the exact same question to Tim that I threw to the chat earlier. I mean, outside of Brad Kaya, name me a quarterback we've had better than TVD. Since
there's not much. There's not much you
since
really.
Brock Berlin, yeah, and that's why I'm willing to give. I don't want to say a pass because he really doesn't need one. I mean, he's kind of proven himself, and then if you just look at how the season's gone, like I said, players get into ruts, and it's just much more noticeable with a quarterback than it is with a lot of other people. You don't notice necessarily when
an injured quarterback.
Yeah, well, you don't notice necessarily when a receiver gets in a rut because either one, they won't be on the field, or two, they've got 3 to 4 other options to throw to. With a quarterback, it's a hell of a lot more noticeable.
So I'm pretty happy with the. I mean, I hate to say, like, you look at our season and on paper it doesn't. I mean, it looks, it doesn't look that great. But if you really watch the games, and I know at the end of the year, all that matters is the numbers. But I mean, we did end it on a winning season. But the progress that was shown throughout the season, and the fact that the players didn't give up at any point in the season, they kept, even when they went, even after Georgia Tech, they still came back and fought back. They didn't give up. They came back out there and kept trying to push forward and be a better team and stayed together. And, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah. And I mean, you could absolutely drive yourself insane every season looking at, well, what the season could have been short of winning a national title. If your ball bounces this way, if that guy gets 1 extra yard, it's like I said, and we both said it. These things happen. There's a natural progression to your football team, and your natural progression obviously is to get to a winning record. And then, okay, what hasn't this team done consistently? Win a bowl game. So let's go win a bowl game. Next year, you worry about winning the conference, and every conference winner is basically in the playoffs next year. So if your goal next year is to win the conference, okay, you're in the playoffs with a shot at that point.
Right. And you look at our team this year, there's no way we can compete. We could compete in that 4-team playoff. I mean,
no. And listen, I mean, if we're being honest, everybody knows Florida State necessarily can't either, but they're still up there like they were, and that was a 5-point game. Because, yes, that was a safety.
Well, yeah. That all goes back to on paper, that's like the Georgia Tech loss. We should be 8-4 right now, but we're not.
Yeah. Well, and it's like comments like this from Tim. It's like, well, we know what he is at this point. Well, you really don't. We don't know who anybody is over the past 20 years because nobody's really gotten that chance, including him. Until we get some stability, we're not going to know who anybody is. There are plenty of guys on defense that could have been better. As great as some of the defenses have been, even over the past 6-7 years.
And
guys
I think last year he got a little bit of a bad rap because I really don't think he fit that system very well at all. And I almost think he regressed a little bit And that and the fact that the O-line was absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
He didn't have time to do anything. So
Well, and you're also talking about he had been under Rhett for 2 years. So that's a mistake I will put on Mario, because if you're going to give your team, I understand you're wanting to run what you want to run, but if you're going to give your team the best chance to be successful right off the bat, you're going to bring in somebody who at least runs something similar to what Rhett did. If you don't want to run full RPO, that's fine. And Mario strikes me as the guy he doesn't. Like today, I think is the epitome of what Mario wants. Mario wants a balanced attack every game, 250 rushing, 250 passing, and I can't knock it because I'm a fan of it as well. I'm a fan of a balanced offensive attack. It keeps the defense honest, and it prevents the defense from doing what they have done a lot of this year. We brought up earlier, just sitting back in zone because your play calling got predictable. And I think that's what also led to a lot of Van Dyke's problems. And that's something else I'll put on Shannon Dawson. Shannon Dawson doesn't run a lot of 5 wide, if any, hardly ever at all. He's going to run 4 wide. So when you're dropping 8 guys into coverage on 4 wide, everybody's double covered. So it doesn't matter who Tyler Van Dyke's throwing to, he's throwing into double coverage. He's trying to fit it above a linebacker and below a safety or a corner. You're asking your quarterback to try and do too much all the time.
and I agree with Kyle here. It does kind of remind a team that won more games than it should have.
Yeah.
And I think Florida State's I think they're gonna get blown out if they first round of the playoffs.
Yes. And I said that, and Miami fans, they wanted to hang me from a yard arm if they could have in 2017, because especially after the Notre Dame game, and yes, I was celebrating it running along with everybody else, but I was like, well, let's not forget that this is the team that's beating everybody by 1. Like, they've given us a heart attack game after game after game, and that really was because of quarterback play. Like, for everything we want to say about Tyler Van Dyke, and I got no hate for Malik Rozier, he was the best option we had at the time. Van Dyke is miles above Malik Rozier.
And he's the best option we have at the time.
Yeah. And that very well may even be the case next year. He may be the best option we have. And like Workforce Freebie put in here, would we want Rogers from it? Sure. I'm all about adding, and Fool said this a few minutes ago, I'm all about adding talent to that room to push everybody. That's why I love the running back room. I'm really going to love the wide receiver room next year, because like it's a good problem to have when you're sitting here like, who do I give the ball to? Do I give it to Chaney? Do I give it to Parrish? Do I give it to Fletcher? You don't know who you want to give the ball to because they're all good backs. That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, very good problem to have.
So adding somebody else like Rogers, or even like Alex brought up earlier, that 2-lane quarterback, sure, bring him in. I'm all for it. But like everybody says, you want TVD to actually compete for it. I want that transfer to actually compete for it.
So realistically, when will we know? Like, when does all that happen exactly?
As far as what?
Transfers and,
the transfer portal opens in December. They have periods where it's open and then they close it off.
Then it opens up.
Yeah, it opens up again. I can't remember when in December it closes. It may even be January, but I know it opens up again after spring games.
Okay.
Especially if you're going to bring in a quarterback, I want one in before the spring game.
Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, it would be nice
yeah.
to know, what you're working with in January.
Well, not only that, I'd like them to be able to go through the spring. Just like I'm all for, early enrollee freshmen so they can go through the spring and summer workouts, and then they have fall camp. It's just optimal situation.
Yeah, it'll be fun to sit back and watch and see what happens. I mean, I know a lot of people, that's Miami fans too. So many people want, Tyler just gone out of here, completely just, but what are we left with at that point?
Exactly.
Total
you're left with
uncertainty.
Maybe Jakari if he stays. I realize everybody was enamored with Emory, but and I'm not knocking the kid's heart or drive or will to win. I'm not, but
or his ability to improve.
Yeah, and which is absolutely there, but we don't know when he's going to be back from that broken arm. You just don't know. But let's also be honest about it. We were all honest about it when we signed the recruiting class. Emory was brought in as a project quarterback. A guy that you think has the talent. Let's see what we can do with him.
LW says you can announce anytime. He said Mississippi State quarterback announced today.
Well, yeah, that he's going to, yeah. But as far as the NCAA has put some restrictions on it, they'll only let you pick guys up during those certain periods of time, which I think is a good thing because you don't need guys to get pissed off and then all of a sudden 4 of your corners transfer one day, then your secondary's gone. It kind of, the NCAA has kind of done away with that worry, so I agree with that. But yeah, I mean, as far as announcing, hey, I'm gonna transfer,
intent
you can do that anytime. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm all for, to an extent, bringing in transfers where needed. I don't know outside of quarterback where we really might need some, except for maybe linebacker. To me, the transfer portal's a mixed bag. It is, because you're trading short-term success for long-term growth. So you want to balance that by not bringing in too many transfers, because those guys are only going to be there for a year or two.
Right. I mean, the purpose should be to fill a hole, not to. I mean, you can do like what Florida State did and build a team off of it, but that's going to last 1 year. And it could help you. I mean, I guess, the logic, I guess, there is it could help you in recruiting for the next year or something like that. But it might or it might not. You'll just have to see what happens. But
yeah. And like we said earlier in the show, too, a lot of people make the assumption if you bring in a transfer, it's a hit every time, and it's just not. We've brought in guys on transfer that haven't hit. So just because you bring in a transfer doesn't mean he's going to do any better. I mean, maybe Will Rogers comes in and does better than Tyler. There's a very good possibility he doesn't. I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah, a lot of people I see, and it's no fault of anybody's or anything like that, but people always think they know. But nobody really knows what's going on in the locker room or what's going on with somebody's physical health or mental health or anything like that. So, a lot of people say, well, TVD, he loses his head. He's not blah, blah. Or maybe it's just that he was really hurt. I mean, he started out, he had it all together. And then you find out he had this horrific injury for the past, multiple games where he was doing horrible. Now he seems like, he's running, he's actually making plays, and he seems like the same guy he was at the beginning of the season.
He does.
Now let's see if that carries into the bowl game. If that carries into the bowl game as well, then I would put it more on a physical injury than a mental problem. So, I mean, we don't really know. It's all just speculation.
And it also could very well be that both things are true.
Or or the physical caused the mental. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can get bummed out that you're hurt as well.
Oh, the physical causes the mental all the time too. Because I mean, how many times do we see it? Especially in running backs. Running back blows out his knee, comes back physically, he's healthy, but he's got to learn. He's basically has to relearn to trust that knee again.
Right. Yeah, and Mom Jones, I totally agree. Consistency is what we needed from him. If he was consistently the player that he was at the beginning of the season and the end of the season, then it would have been a total different outcome. But we have no idea why he wasn't. You know.
Yeah, well, and we know he's injured, so why would you expect consistency from an injured quarterback? I mean, it happens. Now that's where you have to have backups that are ready to go, and we really didn't. The best thing we had was Emory. That's where your coordinator has to kind of step in and shift his offense to take some of the load off of an injured quarterback. So I think it's kind of like we've harped on all year. It's multiple factors that led to what this is, not just one thing.
And Kyle, to answer your question, it doesn't. I don't think it does at all.
Well, I think SMU does to an extent because that was a big football program until they got the death penalty from the NCAA and kind of went the way of the dodo.
One thing I will say is I think it might make it easier for you to see in the next maybe 2 years Miami, FSU, Clemson get out of the ACC. I could see adding these teams, you know, making it easier for teams to be able to leave.
Well, actually, that does the exact opposite. It makes it harder.
You think it does?
Yeah, because what adding those three teams does is it add basically the only way for anybody to get out of the ACC is to dissolve it. You think you're going to get the votes from those three teams to dissolve a conference they just joined?
No, I mean, isn't there a buyout? I mean, can't they buy their way out?
There is a buyout, yes, but the problem is that whole grant of rights, and what that turns into is basically, okay, say you had talks of Clemson to the Big Ten. Okay, the Big Ten's TV contract is with Fox. Fox would not legally be allowed to air a single Clemson home game.
And how long is that extended for? Do you know?
2036.
2036.
As long as the contract.
All right. Well, yeah. Okay.
That's the whole.
Well,
that
gives us a long time to win the ACC for the first time. Then at least there is hope. So there is a chance.
Oh, I mean, I actually think in that time period too. Not trying to go down that rabbit hole, but you're going to see so much stuff change in that period of time that we won't even be thinking about somebody leaving the conference at that point.
So you think most of that conference jumping's about over with?
I think it has to, because look what's happened this year as far as, because they're paying out so much money. Look at what's happened with these carriers and networks. Oh, well, this network over here is not willing to pay that price, so now all these people are blacked out. This channel over here is not willing to negotiate with that because the cost is just too high, so this is blacked out over there. And
I know Notre Dame just extended their contract with NBC, so.
And I wonder how much that really That surprises me, and I need to look that up because I remember they were in negotiations when all this was going on, and we were talking about it. And I thought they were talking about Notre Dame getting like 50, 60 million from NBC. And that crossed my mind as completely brain dead because why would NBC give them 50, 60 million dollars for 5, 6 home games a year? And that's it.
Well, they haven't. I looked into it a little bit. They haven't disclosed the amount, but the, quote unquote experts speculated that it went from like 23 to 25 or whatever. What it was like 2 point something more $1 million than what they already had. So it wasn't.
That's nowhere near the projections.
Right. Well, they have, but it's undisclosed at this time. So, I mean, people, the experts, you know what I mean? It could be totally wrong. That's just what I read.
Well, if that be the case, while Notre Dame's under contract with the ACC, they're not allowed to join any other conference. And from everything that I've read, the ACC has been pretty good about making their contracts fairly ironclad. I think college football as a whole, and this would probably take college football as a whole, kind of getting together and forcing Notre Dame into a conference. And then especially if Notre Dame joins the ACC in football, that's a wrap. The ACC is not going anywhere.
No, I totally agree.
Because Notre Dame burned some bridges with the Big Ten. The Big Ten and Notre Dame are not happy with each other with the way their whole relationship ended. So I don't see them going back there. They're not wanted in the SEC. As a matter of fact, Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, made it pretty clear after Texas and Oklahoma joined, we're not looking to add anybody else. And with all this other expansion that's happened, you haven't heard a whisper about the SEC. So I have to take him at his word. The SEC just ain't got no interest in it right now.
No, not at all.
And I do think the speculation got really, really fast went to, well, it's just going to be 2 super conferences and that's going to be it. I don't think the majority of people involved in college football want that. And that's why I think a lot of this is going to end up coming to a screeching halt. And then especially once you get into USC having to go to Rutgers to play, people aren't going to like it. Nobody's going to like that all the way around. Players, fans.
That's kind of where I'll be curious to see how it works out. Adding these teams to the ACC now, like, are they gonna? Who are they gonna schedule again? How are they gonna work in there? Has that already been announced or no?
Well, Alex read our schedule earlier. We're going to Cal next year.
Right. Okay. So.
Yeah, it's basically just going to be another game. Obviously, you're not going to be playing the whole conference every 2 years now, but I think we play SMU next year too, which, hey, I'm a fan of. And that's why out of the bunch, I think SMU is the best because much like Texas, much like Texas A&M, SMU's got that oil money.
Yeah, they've got, all those teams have money, I would think.
Well, yes. And that's something that I've tried to point out in conversations with this. It's like, listen, just say whatever the Big Ten, I think the Big Ten's up to like $60 million a year per team. Let's be perfectly honest about it. The University of Miami wipes its ass with $60 million a year. The endowment for the University of Miami is $4.7 billion. So this whole thing, like these TV contracts are going to be program changing. They're just not.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see how it all, unfolds. Only wish Golden Blue Dude was here to watch it with us.
Oh my God.
I really wish. I really wish Chris was
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I started to get annoyed with it, like some people, but it's one of those you don't know what you got till it's gone. I miss those realignment videos. God, I miss those realignment.
Oh God, God bless him. What a good guy. Well,
But
Slim,
yeah,
you got anything
hopefully,
else? There's not really much else we can say about this. I think we can. I think we can retouch on all this after the bowl game, and I think we'll know a little bit more.
yeah. Well, hey, after the bowl game is going to bring up a whole nother set of questions because that's when we really start with who's coming back, who's not.
Right.
You know, what coaches are still going to be there next year. Because, I mean, obviously there's, guys move, and I'm not. I hope they can do what they can to keep them. I mean, if Lance Guidry gets an offer, because obviously he's been looked at for LSU because their defense is so bad, and him being from Louisiana, um, I hope they're willing to do what needs to be done to keep assistants. I mean, that's one of the things that winning programs do. They're willing to shell. I mean, how many times did Clemson shell out money to keep Brent Venables there because Brent Venables was worth it?
Well, as a positive sign though for Miami, it does seem like we are actually finally spending money again and consistently spending money. So I think we'll be okay.
Well, and I agree. And this is something I had a conversation with about that with Coach Hayes the other day. Like, everybody's focusing on, well, Mario's getting paid $8 million a year. We've never paid a coach this much. We expect more for the money. Well, I get that line of thinking, but you're also thinking based off of what Miami's done forever. Like, what Miami is paying a coach now is on par with the rest of the country for a change.
Right.
So, like, this is kind of what's expected. Like, Miami, unfortunately, Miami's had to find out the hard way you can't be successful anymore and be cheap. And I realize the fan base is looking at it like, oh, we've gotten away with being cheap. Now we're throwing out money and it's not going the way we want. Well, okay, but I mean, welcome to modern monetary theory.
Well, it hasn't gone the way we want in 19 years. So.
Well, I'll I'll end it with this. The definition of insanity. Yeah, at how many times do we want to keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result? At some point, we got to change it up somewhere.
But hey, at least all of us Miami fans, we can all smile today, knowing that we won, and it's always such a nice thing. We won.
Be happy,
today,
everybody.
We won today, and we are going to a bowl game. We are going to a bowl game, and we are going to have the most fantastic show after that bowl game. It's going to be a blast.
We will. It will be, I can promise you this, it will be the greatest post-poll game show on the entire Mark Rogers network.
Oh, I promise you that. And one thing I do want to put out there to anybody, I'm going to put this, let me just type in something in here. Let me make sure I did that right. See, I did it wrong. My stupid keyboard has been messing up. I ordered a new one, but it's like, you ever have that where you type and like certain letters don't go in?
Yeah, oh yeah.
There you go, travelingfools2020@gmail.com. If you would like to, I know a lot of people like to comment in the comment section and stuff like that. Maybe after the bowl game, Slim, we can figure out what day it is and stuff like that. Maybe we could take some callers. So if you're at all interested in maybe being calling in and saying your opinion or something like that, shoot me over an email. Travelingfools2020. There it is right there. Yes. Write it down right now. Shoot me an email, and maybe we can do like a segment there at the end where people can call in and say their thoughts.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, I know everybody and amongst these fine, upstanding individuals that matriculate our comment section absolutely agrees with everything I say. But in case one of you out there doesn't, you can even come on here and argue with me.
There you go. It is a chance to argue with Slim Shady Canes one-on-one. I know that's got to be enticing for somebody out there. Somebody out there has to be enticed with that idea. So yeah,
Gotta be.
travelingfools2020 at gmail.com. I didn't put the at in there. See, the at didn't type, but obviously if you can't figure that out, you're not smart enough to argue with Slim Shady Canes.
No, you're not.
But anyway, guys, we do thank you for being here. We did win today, which is great. We're going to a bowl game. We don't know what that is yet, so we have no idea when we will be back, but we will be back for one more game, and it's going to be a great time. So, Slim, you got anything last words to say to anybody out there? Follow you on Twitter.
Yes, follow me on Twitter. The occasional pointless, barely watchable video on YouTube. I don't know, and I'm starting to think since we're coming up close on the off season and we don't have anything to do, it may give me a chance to actually make some videos. So maybe coming soon, just some live videos so people can come argue with me.
Well, Slim, I would be interested in doing that with you. I'm sure Alex would as well. We could actually have some like call in Miami shows maybe in the off season. That might be fun.
Yeah, right. I ain't got nothing better to do. It's the off season.
Yeah. So, what is your? Wonder if I can look it up real quick. Don't you have? Well,
it's at Slim Shady Canes on YouTube as well.
Yeah, there you go. All right, yeah, just type in Slim Shady Canes on YouTube and you will find him as well. Same as me. Type in Traveling Fools and you will find our page, which is always full of fun, goofy travel videos and some fun late night chats, trivia nights, stuff like that as well. And you can also find us on Twitter too. So sub everybody up. Stay in touch. Feel free to contact us anytime. And if you want to be on the show, please email me or hit us up on Twitter, travelingfools2020 at gmail.com. Or Traveling Fools on Twitter. Just hit us up. Hit me up in the DMs. You can slide right in. All right. That being said, love all you guys. We won again. We will see you. Woohoo! We will see you after the bowl game that we actually get to play in this year, and hopefully win.
We'll win.
We will win. We will win. All right. We'll see you guys then. Have a great night.